This is Sports 225.
Well, I'm in luck, which means you're in luck because we get to talk to Tim Brando, who, check it out. He's in this part of his house with so much memorabilia. We were joking with just how much he's got, but the last one he picked up right before we went on the air was that helmet autographed by Heisman people. So tell the story there where you first got it.
I was playing in the Sportscasters Hall of Fame golf outing. It was outside New York. Baltusrol was where we were playing, a great golf course that's hosted a lot of U.S. Opens, as you know. And they had an auction, a silent auction, and I saw this for a pretty good price. You know, when I say a pretty good price, it wasn't through the roof. And I got it. And because I'm such a fan of the history of the game, and, you know, guys like Johnny Latner, you know, Bellini, you know, I can go on and on about the big names of the people that are on here. But at that time, this was around 2005, it was literally all of the Heisman winners that were still alive, plus a few that weren't. And since that time, when I've run into it at other occasions, I've wagged my helmet along when I knew I was going to be with a Heisman winner and gotten them to sign it. So it's right. It's quite a keepsake. And I'm a collector of helmets. If you watched my old radio show when it was televised, then you know that to be true. And so my house.
Show people some of the names on there. You got Billy Cannon, of course, to sign it later.
Johnny Latner. You got Mr. Inside, Mr. Outside. You know, you got Billy Sims. There's Billy Sims, 28. I mean, it's loaded. I mean, absolutely loaded. Pat Sullivan, Glenn Davis. I mean, so, you know, you don't get much better than that. We're talking about some of the greats of all time in the history. John Hewart, Notre Dame fame. It's just, I mentioned Billy Cannon, obviously, but there's so many others. Johnny Rogers. It's just one after the other after the other. And I'm a big fan of the history of the game, and this sort of is it, you know, for me. And
you said, and you know, Tim can reach down easily and pick up a couple other helmets. Do it, Tim, as long as we're doing traditional television here. Watch this. This is great.
I have Spurrier twice. I have him with Florida. That's on my stairwell. The Florida Gators helmet's on the stairwell coming up to my study. This is with the Gamecocks. And I have dueling South Carolina helmets, Lee. This is one that was actually, this one was actually used. Holtz was very, you know, he wanted to make sure that he sent you really good used helmets. And this one says, to Tim Brando, only the best can wear this helmet, and you're the very, very best. But look, I'm all about, you know, every level of college football. I mean, Middle Tennessee, I got Middle Tennessee State. My friends in Southwest Louisiana will be happy to know the Raging Cajuns they're here. So, you know, back in the day, I always thought this was a good one too. I always thought this logo was awesome for UAB, didn't you? The Blazers. I love the UAB helmet. Now they've sort of made the gator much bigger. This one is a little bit more subtle. You know, I like this one actually. But
I got to tell you, for those of you watching, I got to tell you, we did not rehearse this, and this was like Tim was talking about it. And I said, "Grab the helmet. This is the best ever, Tim." This is awesome.
And for your LSU fans, okay, this one will hurt. This one's gonna hurt a little bit. It's Saban on the LSU helmet. Okay, it's Saban. So,
no, he did pretty good there. You know,
he did okay. I think he set the foundation, don't you? So there you have it. Enough with that.
That was awesome. All right, thank you. Drive home safely. No, I mean, Tim, all those things should be on display somewhere. And I know, like in Shreveport, Bossier, isn't there downtown an exhibit, a museum of some kind, or maybe
yeah. It's and I'm gonna update my. It's the Arklatex Museum of Champions.
That's what it is.
And it's connected to the downtown facility where the Independence Bowl holds a lot of its it's gala events and other events take place there. And I am a member of that particular hall. And so I think I might, but that would be a little too gaudy for me to put other people's stuff in there. A lot of my stuff is in there, some awards and things like that. I think somebody just has to, maybe call me up and say they want to use my name for a restaurant or something. You know what I mean? Just use my name. Then I can put some stuff in there.
Restaurant
holding out for that. I'm holding out for a restaurateur to come up with an idea for Timmy B's somewhere. That would be fun.
And you get free DoorDash, so you wouldn't even have to go out. Oh my gosh, that is that. And Tim, look at especially off of your will be your left shoulder, those shelves. There's so much stuff, and then if you look off near the top of Tim's head, that shelf in the back with the trophies, and those are your Emmys, actually, I believe.
Yeah, there's some Emmys, and the Lindsey Nelson Award, the one that's kind of going upward. I got the Lindsey Nelson Award back in 2014, and my Louisiana Sports Hall of Fame award is also up there. So there's a lot.
This is great.
When you get old, the people start giving you trophies just for having a pulse. So
yeah, when I was a little boy growing up in New York, and they started the New York Mets, from scratch. One of the announcers was Lindsey Nelson, of course. Yeah. Same time the Tennessee football announcer. I have, and I'm going to do a tweet on it later today, and you'll see it later today. It's opening day on the taping of this work is opening day of baseball, and I have from the Polo Grounds in 1963, the Cubs playing the Mets, two of the worst teams in baseball. And Hub Brando and the Dreamers were on their way to Harmon, Newfoundland to play at an air base, and then later Goose Bay, Labrador. And we stopped in, and they were getting ready for the World's Fair the following year in '64. And inside the small program that's got like the Met bobblehead on top of it, you'll blow you away how little it cost. And the commercials for Marlboro, the Marlboro Man is in there. And they're talking about this new state-of-the-art stadium, Shea Stadium, that's about to open the following year in 1964. And I'm going to put that out later today. I've still got it. That's quite a keepsake. All right. We've completely not only destroyed this segment, but screwed up the clock and everything, but it's okay. Yeah. I went to the Polo Grounds once, Tim, in 1962 or 61. My old man took me there for an exhibition football game between the New York Jets and the Boston Patriots. And the quarterback was Babe Perilli. All right, he's Tim Brando. We got to go to break, but we'll pick this right up where we left off. I'm Lee Feinswag at Sports 225.
Who says you need a vacation for a view like this? Or, I wish there was a place to get in shape. Try getting on the beaten path. Discover an ever-expanding network of trails and greenways. Some quintessential southern beauty. Or romp through the woods in a magical land between the rivers. There's more to explore than you ever imagined. Beyond the swing sets. Breck, we are more than a playground.
Back on what has been, for the start, an untraditional Sports 225, hanging out with Tim Brando. He's in Shreveport. I'm in Baton Rouge. We were talking about first some of his memorabilia and the cool football helmets he's got, and then somehow we digressed into talking about going to the Polo Grounds and Newfoundland and Labrador. So you were on that, and when?
63. We played in the air base in Harmon, Newfoundland. We were going on to Trenton, where they had an air base, and we took an Air Force plane into Newfoundland, and they called them Goonie Birds, as I recall. And we literally were, the band equipment, amplifiers, drums, everything is in this cargo plane, and there are just a few seats there, and I was in one of them. And we flew in there and then on to Goose Bay. And this was, that was a summertime trip that we took that year, obviously with baseball being played. But We also went once in the winter, and it was igloos and Eskimos. I think that's a politically correct term now, but I got to go in one when I was just a kid during the Christmas holiday. We were obviously quite popular in the frozen north. Oh, back in the day.
No, nobody will
an
get
SCTV bit from years gone by, you know,
with Geddy Lee from Rush actually singing that part. But if you don't know it, you'll never get it. So Tim, was your dad was in a band?
Well, he was the band. It was the Hub Brando and the Dreamers. You've heard this story, Lee.
No.
I grew up with a father that was an entertainer, broadcast pioneer. You know all that.
No, I swear I don't.
Records and everything. Yeah, that's how I got. That's how I got rid of that real Southern drawl. You know, I was flying around the countryside and abroad with my dad, and that's how I got in front of people and became the hot dog that I am today. So yeah.
I had no idea.
In addition to doing television shows in Shreveport and helping get television stations on the air, Dad was an entertainer. I was a member of the Musicians Union when I was 6 years old. I was the youngest member of the local 116 Musicians Union in the 318 area. I was. That's the only way I could get into these places to be a part of the act. They called them show bands, floor show bands back in those days.
Do you play any instruments yourself?
I did play the drums, and quite well when I was young. I don't do it anymore. I figured I'm enough percussion from here as opposed to beating a drum to go with it. You know,
not saying a word. Not saying.
I know.
Well,
I trumped myself with that one, didn't I?
That's good. Well, if any of you ever have a chance to go to Newfoundland or Labrador, I haven't been to Labrador.
Just Google Hub Brando and the Dreamers. You'll see a 45 record that was made back during the day on Teardrop Records. Stan Lewis of Stan the Record Man fame that had John Fred and the Playboys. That was the same label they were on. So
things we did not know.
Yeah,
that's amazing. And you thought you just tuned in for sports. More than that when you talk to Timmy B. Speaking of sports, are you off for a little bit?
Till toe meets leather in college football.
Wow. So you've got all you're going to do now. I mean, and I assume what you're doing now is, in addition to getting some much deserved leisure time, but like studying rosters, watching video, connecting with some people, you know,
yeah, right. Yeah. Look, with the transfer portal, you won't know who's there until the week of the game. So I'm not really concerned. I'm chasing golf balls and grandbabies right now. That's what I'm doing. You know, I had a great time in New Orleans at the Final Four. I know you were eventually going to get there. I had more fun, Lee, and so much of my history in the state of Louisiana and in college basketball flashed before my eyes. And even with COVID and even with that city being popped, as you know, with bad weather, hurricanes and tornadoes as recently as the last few weeks, man, what a great show New Orleans and the state put on. Everyone was happy with it. All my friends and colleagues that came from other parts of the country had a blast. And gosh, I went to Galators with John Brady, Tim Floyd, Dickie Brennan of Brennan's fame. And we just had an absolute blast on Friday. And then sat 8 rows up with my friend Mike Oresco and his wife Sharon. Terry was with me. We had a great time at the semifinals. And then I hustled back home, and the Louisiana Sports Hall of Fame had its spring celebrity golf outing at Squire Creek in Ruston. So John and I on Monday night had a draw party with a lot of luminaries: Will Clark, Dee Dee Bro, her outstanding gymnast that she coached for many, many years, that also is a member of the Hall of Fame. Paul Maneri came up. I think I mentioned Will, but Kyle Williams, you know, of Buffalo Bills fame and LSU, he's a 2022 inductee. Hollis Conway of my high school in Fair Park, a great trackster, as you know, and his daughter's just gone to fame and fortune as a singer and the former Miss Louisiana and was in the Miss USA. Just unbelievable the amount of talent and Louisiana luminaries that were on hand. We had a very active weekend past.
One of the problems I have when I have Tim come on the show is I can't ever get him to drop any names. Hey, all right, let's take a break and let's talk about the Final Four in New Orleans, which absolutely lucked out because you couldn't have had better weather. And think about what happened just before. All right, he's Tim Brando. I'm Lee Feinswag. It's Sports 225.
Who says you need a vacation for a view like this? Or, I wish there was a place to get in shape. Try getting on the beaten path. Discover an ever-expanding network of trails and greenways. Some quintessential southern beauty. Or romp through the woods in a magical land between the rivers. There's more to explore than you ever imagined. Beyond the swing sets. Breck, we are more than a playground.
Back on Sports 225, hanging out with Timmy Brando and talking about all sorts of things and things I didn't expect to, but I knew we would talk about the Final Four. It doesn't always work out.
Another one, Braves 95 World Series, baby.
You called it.
That? You like that?
That was your year. You were play-by-play guy, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then when they lost, it was to my man, Joe Torre, one of my favorite people.
Oh, yeah.
Beat him in the 96 series. And Joe gave me that. How about that one? That's a good one.
You know, most of my good memorabilia is up on the wall in frames, and so I'm not going to, I've got a Caddyshack and a Slapshot poster, both autographed, and then some old Yankees.
And you were saying about basketball.
Oh yeah, there was a Final Four.
Yeah.
A lot of years there's 3 lousy games, and sometimes the venue's good, sometimes the weather's not. But considering the way things have been lately in New Orleans with a couple of those storms blowing through, to have had the perfect Chamber of Commerce few days for the world coming in, it couldn't have worked out better.
It's never been more. Yeah, it's never been more pleasant. Terry and I went to when we had some free time, which was after we had that Friday lunch with Floyd and Brady and Dickie Brennan and a few others. Scotty Alexander, my friend and content coordinator with me now, is at WWL. They were all there. We went to Jackson Square and took the buggy ride, all the way through New Orleans. And I threw the guy an extra bill, and he took me as close as he could back to the Hilton Riverside. I mean, it was just fantastic. The temp, I think that day was about 75. I mean, no humidity. I mean, it just could not have been nicer. But we decided to break down and have dinner at the Cafe Du Monde. We had not been that close to the Cafe Du Monde. I can't remember when. So we went in there and did the beignets. It was just fantastic. And the games, the undercard with Villanova and Kansas was sort of what we thought it might be. But I've got to tell you, I've been to all the Final Fours with the exception of 3 since 1981. I missed the COVID one, obviously, and I missed 88 and 96. So I missed Danny and the Miracles, and I missed Pitino's title in East Rutherford, New Jersey. I've been to everyone else since 81. And that game between Duke and North Carolina, given the history, the rivalry, and what was at stake with Coach K, one of the top 5 games I've ever seen with my own eyes. I mean, the last 7 minutes of that game, Lee, we had literally Carolina people here, Duke people here, and with every shot, it sounded explosive, okay? And the whole place rocked. And when you looked around, it was, I don't know that you were at the 82 Final Four, but I was. That's where I met Kurt Gowdy, and we talked about that many times over. It looked as big and as awesome to me at 66 as it did at 26 when I was covering my second Final Four. It was just awesome. And of
course, that was the Michael Jordan shot.
Yeah.
And I was covering I've covered the others, the Keith Smart shot, the Chris Webber timeout. Was it Syracuse beating Kansas?
Yeah, 87. That was 2003. You had 93 with the timeout, and you had 87 with Smart.
Yeah. That's
2012, 10 years earlier, the Kentucky championship. And if you remember, it was pouring down rain going into that game. That
2012 was the last one I went to. I retired after 28 Final Fours. My first one was LSU in 1986 in Dallas, and then I stopped going because it ran its course for me.
86, since you mentioned it, 86. That's Terry and me, Destination Dallas. We took that shot at South Fork. The Dallas Morning News did those. They had a little thing to.
That was
remember,
that was.
Do you
back
remember
when,
that? We took a bus ride from the Metroplex area into South Fork. I'll never forget that.
That was back when the media really got wined and dined at the Final Four. Now you wine and dine yourself. Hell, in Indianapolis one year, they took us to Indy and put us in a van, and it's Charlotte Raceway, showing you those kind of things. Nowadays, they're like, hey, have a nice Sunday. We'll talk to you on Monday night. Show up. And they put you in the nosebleed section. You're lucky to have good tickets. That was another reason I stopped going, was because. Yeah,
I understand.
I don't want to watch. I don't want to go to a sporting event and watch it on a big screen. So
I don't even get credentials anymore. I used to, so I could go down maybe between games and halftime and see some of my friends. But I'm telling you, Lee, it was just incredible. And when you told people after the Kansas victory over North Carolina, number one, North Carolina acted like they'd won a national title when they beat Duke, and you knew that was ominous. And then Kansas was the number one seed all year. And a lot of people have forgotten that, because I think they were probably under the radar all the way through the semifinals. No one was talking about Kansas.
Yeah, I thought Villanova was going to win. I had Villanova playing Carolina in the final.
Well, I had Villanova playing Duke, so what do I know?
Yeah, well, neither of us know anything. But we're doing Sports 225. All right, I got to take this break. We'll come back for a very short segment with Tim Brando. I'm Lee Feinswag at Sports 225.
Who says you need a vacation for a view like this? Or, I wish there was a place to get in shape. Try getting on the beaten path. Discover an ever-expanding network of trails and greenways. Some quintessential southern beauty. Or romp through the woods in a magical land between the rivers. There's more to explore than you ever imagined. Beyond the swing sets. Breck, we are more than a playground.
Coming down the home stretch of another Sports 225, hanging out with Timmy Brando, who we won't visit with on this show again until the fall, although I will see him in June for international volleyball in Shreveport, Tim.
Yeah.
Go to Sports
and you better come up to the Louisiana Sports Hall of Fame gathering we have in August. You need
Absolutely.
to come up to that. You need to check it out.
Anyway, sports225.com for other details. Tim, since we last talked, and we expected it was coming, LSU has fired Will Wade, hired a new coach. Probation looms large. Kansas wins the national championship, and probation looms large. Just thoughts about that in the last minute we have.
Well, I think they won't get popped as hard as people down there think, Lee. They're not going to get hit the way Brady got hit in the post-Lester Earl fallout when David Burst coerced Lester Earl, and it's now been proven. Johnny Jones exonerated, Dale exonerated. We all know that.
Speaking of memorabilia, I could pull my plaque off the wall from the award-winning sports writing I did on the Lester Earl case. But
there you go.
Right.
But they're going to give Will Wade a 5-year show cause. They're going to hit him hard. He'll be scouting or assisting somewhere in the NBA. And I think because the Kansas thing is looming, they can't afford to hit Kansas hard. You know that. So they haven't even gotten their notice of allegations yet. So I think they'll go a lot easier on LSU. I expect that they'll allow them to play the tournament, but they won't get money from the tournament. And they may get fined, and they may lose one Scully a year for 3 years. So one scholarship, and that's it. And I think they're going to be eligible to play in the tournament next year.
Where do they follow you on Twitter, where you're prolific?
At Tim Brando, and then on Instagram, at Timmy B on Fox. And you can also find me on Facebook, at Tim Brando.
He is the inimitable Tim Brando. Lucky for me to be able to call him. Now, we're getting on close to a 4-decade friend, Tim. Oof. Thanks for doing this. Enjoy the 2 Gs, as you said, golf and grandbabies. And I will see you in June in Shreveport, Louisiana. Thanks for watching Sports 225.
At carnival time by Baton Rouge Bay, that's the site of my story. At